guys, Work here, welcome back to the bench. It's time for another tactical cheap shit. In this tactical cheap shit, we're going to go over the Surefire XC1 clone. Now, I've seen these around a lot, I've seen a lot of reviews on them, and it's kind of the shining example of why I do these tactical cheap shits. For all intents and purposes, this thing looks pretty much like the standard XC1. There's a couple of giveaways that tell you that it's not, and there's a really good reason why this thing's in tactical cheap shit. You look at this and you may think it's a hell of a deal. I got this for about 50 bucks, which considering it's about a $200 weapon light, seems pretty damn good. So I got this thing, I ended up pulling it open. What I saw inside was actually higher quality than I expected. Let me move this to the side and let's just look at the light here. This light looks pretty well constructed from the factory. A lot of the clones that I have seen are not this well constructed. The reflectors inside the flashlight area are not lined up properly. This one is. This is an all aluminum body. The locking mechanism is the standard Surefire locking mechanism, which sucks, and it's got the same paddle style switches back here. Now, a couple of things that give this away. First of all, these paddle style switches are plastic. From what I understand, the actual Surefire units are rubber. On the other side, we can see the XC1 here. Now, this is the dead giveaway. You can see this XC1 is solid. The XC1 on the actual Surefire light is more of an outlined XC1. So that's how you can tell that this is a true clone. Now, I've nicknamed this thing the Shamfire because this thing is a sham. For as impressed as I was out of the gate, this thing did not hold up. First of all, the buttons and the actuation of this thing suck. You've got two different modes. On the paddles here in the back, you simply have a tap to on. Now, you'd think this would be okay. When you've got your hand on the firearm, your trigger finger is right next to these little paddles, and it's really easy to activate. And it is. It's true. The problem is that there's no way to get a constant on from back here. There isn't an up on these paddles. There's not an in on these paddles. It's simply down to turn on, and as you release it, it springs back to the off position. The only way to get a constant on this particular light is the switch on the side here, which you can activate with the thumb on your support hand. However, getting it to turn back off is much more difficult, as the switch is well in front of the paddle that your trigger finger can just barely hit. The other thing that I absolutely hate about this thing is the lock mechanism that it uses to hold onto the rail. This thing is horrible. It doesn't fit on any metal guns because the lock bar here doesn't drop far enough out of the way, and on plastic guns, it rubs against the bottom of the rail as you're trying to put it on. Now, I don't know if that's because this is specifically set up for a Glock or not. It does fit on standard rails. It fit on the P07, but as far as normal use, this thing's horrible. This is why I do the tactical cheap shit series, so that I can come out and tell you guys, don't buy these things. Don't buy these knockoff XC1s. This thing is a complete crap. I'll show you here in just a minute. We got this thing out to the anvil and took it out for just some light test practice. I took maybe 100 rounds through my Glock 19 with this thing attached, and this thing cut out twice on me. Now, this thing cost me 50 bucks. If you look back at one of the previous tactical cheap shits, you'll find a Lafayette flashlight. That thing cost me 20 bucks. Didn't go out at all across 200 rounds, and the problems that I did have were simply fixed by removing some screws, putting Loctite on, and putting them back in. And that flashlight is now running solid. This thing, there isn't anything that you can do. The electrical connections inside are what's failing, and you're not going to get in there and resolder this thing for 50 bucks when it doesn't even have a switch that you can do to turn constant on. I'll go ahead and roll that video now. Now, as luck would have it, in this particular case, the place that I ordered this from is one of those, like, direct from China places. I usually expect this stuff to take, like, a month to get here. After waiting a month and a half, I went ahead and contacted the seller. A lot of the times, things get lost as they're traveling across the Pacific, so I contacted the seller and asked for a refund. They gave me the refund, and about 4 weeks later, I got this thing in the mail. Now, I almost feel bad about it, but in the end, I'm glad I didn't pay for this thing, because it is a piece of tactical cheap shit. Well, that's it for this time, guys. Remember, if you enjoyed the video or found it useful, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. And remember, until next time, do your research, get informed, and get to work.